This is an introduction to great art, evolution, and great character development. I've been busy evolving, so please excuse this time. Nevertheless, we still move on. I know that many of y'all have seen my face already in dance, in art, but I would like to just retell my story a little bit. So, in order for y'all to understand this and everything that you're saying, let me just take you back all the way to the beginning of my music journey and my art journey. Let me just take you back. My name is Bilantaka. I am a website developer. I'm a software tester. I am a penetration tester and an all-round cyber security guy. And I also make music. Primarily, I originally come from the Democratic Republic of Congo, but I grew up in a small place, a small town called Brenford. Brenford has so many different characteristics and attributes. It's exciting, it's inviting, it's welcoming, and you definitely get a sense of family and charity. To totally sum up my experience growing up in Brenford, a person that looks like me 100% can say that despite all of its advantages growing up here, there are definitely a lot more odds than positives that we young males and young females had to really and truly encounter growing up in Brentford. You know, at the time, Brentford was still very much so rough around its edges and corners when we were growing up, and we're talking way before all of the gentrification and before buildings were like really beat down and everything. There were so many things that we saw that we wish we hadn't seen, but at its core and at the heart of Brentford, there's peace, love, and unity. You know, I can thank Brentford for making quite a lot of my first childhood memories. I bought my first matcha taxi here in Brentford. I bought my first go-go's in Brentford, but most importantly, the greatest aspect of Brentford was the events and opportunities that he gave to young peoples who wanted to literally come off the streets, and if they had a voice, they allowed them to project their voice. So a lot of the times, our talents made most of the noises. School is quite a compelling memory lane to revisit. just initially this quiet, but still very vocal and outspoken kid. I was very creative, articulate, expressive, yeah, smart. I get to secondary now, and things started to take a little shift. I started making more friends, and that kind of became the center of my focus a little bit, and it swayed me, unfortunately. And I thought that was more important. It began to affect most of my grades, but I had a plan. However, it never really slowed down my gifts. Everybody knew me, and especially a good friend of mine, D, for always being at every talent show, at every single event, music event, just, expressing our dance gifts. But when the curtains closed and the applauses were done, we had to get serious again and get good grades. I had messed around for a bit too long, but then in my last couple of years at the secondary school, I thought, you know what, why don't I change the perspective? Why don't I really and truly rewrite my own story? And that's when I started to I went into this very, very cool philosophical phase where I kind of sort of turned into this Malcolm X Tupac figure and started to just show people my real true side, because I wasn't going to continue living a character that I wasn't, this joke star and this funny accent boy, but I actually had brains, I actually had opinion. So I did that. And it first started, it first started with just me dropping a few opinions on my Facebook status at the time on what I felt was just very unnecessary, like the haircuts that they wouldn't allow, because I didn't believe that, they would affect our education, and just so many other policies I didn't agree with. I always loved education, but not the systems behind school. And so it's like everybody's reaction is like, as soon as they see all of this, it's like, oh wait, this is very new. It was really nice to get the warm reaction, and I didn't actually expect to get the reaction that I got. I was now starting to see that students who would never speak to me are now speaking to me and agreeing with me. And so let me just say, my last couple of years, I managed to really turn things around. And I regained a much greater reputation and respect at the end of my journey. My origins in music go all the way back to, they began with, let me say, with me and my two other cousins at the time. So it's like in the house, we would always play X Factor. We would always play these big, talent shows in our house. And for the most part, we just, whatever pots, pans we found in our house, we would always turn them into an instrument. And it was our way of, expressing, ourselves, and also releasing, how we felt. Music was that therapeutic expression that we always wanted to emit. And so that was always what kept me going, especially because we grew up in a household where, Congolese music was getting played around. gospel music was getting played around, especially, and it gave us a really, really amazing and immaculate playlist, all individually. You know, our music taste is so good because of that. However, when I very first began, my very, very first passion actually was art. I was a drawer. Anything in the house I could draw. Like I was a prodigy, in all humbly saying. And yeah, that was just my very first love. But dance came later on when I was about probably 8. And I realized that I really liked dancing. However, it was only until I turned 14 that I realized I could actually sing. And the very first, okay, maybe you might not need to know this, but very first, I would always sing to girls. You know, I would always, you know, send it out to them. Obviously, to the man, it was nothing special. So that was just my very introduction into singing and becoming an artist and becoming a runner, I guess. And the very inspirations that caused me to sing were the greats like Bobby Brown, Usher, Chris Brown, Mary Mary, Kiara Sheard, Ty Tribbett, and most importantly, UK's finest, Angel. And so over the years, I sort of like tried to do my best to study them, but then also study who they studied, and then also studied who they studied. So kind of meshed it all together and tried to build something. I tried to build a bridge with that information. And and then years later, I had something. That something was really and truly applied to paper as soon as I turned 21, because that was the birth of Runner. By then, I felt like I knew a little bit more of my sound, but I decided to push myself a little bit more to keep maximizing my sound. By 23, I fully had my sound. And ever since then, till today, my sound is gospel R&B, which is just basically, mine is like talking about females, talking about, you know, random weird relationships and odd things and lust for things, and just plastering it with faith, because faith, we need faith more. We need God more than those things. I've always been so creative and positive, but quite a lot of that came from a great dance crew and charity group, organization, let me say, that I'm still part of to this day. And we go by the name of the Alliance Arts. The Alliance Arts is an amazing charitable organization, companionship, that was basically comprised in order to help youngsters come off the street, help teenagers, young children, young people to get off the streets and do something more productive and of a service to their community. The birth of the amazing organization just all started with a visionary man and the leader who goes by the name of Torren Lee Joa, and he just had nothing but his nan's backyard and a couple of dance moves, and he saw bigger than just dance steps. He saw an enterprise, but more so also a way to build and help others come out of their comfort zone, be more comfortable and confident in their gifts, and also to repel from the negative crowd. Today we've raised so much money for different organizations and charities. We have won various awards, and most importantly, we've saved so many lives. Some people have had the most craziest testimonies of how Torren Lichua has helped them, both mentally, physically, in every aspect. If you are unapologetic, confident, and you have a great story to tell, well then, join today. Join the Alliance Arts today and tell your story. The most important thing in my journey of becoming runner is I wouldn't be any of it, or I wouldn't be able to do half of what I do for people if it wasn't for Jesus Christ. I just want to alert all listening that just don't forget one thing. God has created us and made us to please Him, and not the other way around, and not for us to please people. We are to submit to Him because we can't do anything leaning on ourselves nor our own understanding. When He wanted to create the birds, He looked at the skies. When He wanted to create the tree, He probably looked at the soil. But when He wanted to create you and me, He looked at Himself. We are made in the image of God. And so I think we should trust God to take ownership of our lives. He will perfect every single thing about our lives. He knows what He's doing. He loves us more than anyone can ever imagine. His love is almost dangerously unbearing. I just want people to understand that I'm a gospel artist, and the gifts I have would be nothing if it wasn't for Him. So I would advise everybody listening to seek ye first the kingdom of the Lord. And then again in Romans 10:9, to just go and receive salvation. And just try it. Just watch. Give Him a try and watch Him stir your ship like never before. Look, take two. I just want to thank you all for listening. I hope you have enjoyed me telling all parts of who I am and where I've come from and what it is that I do. And just know that this journey is not for the weak that we call life. This journey of life is not for the weak. So just in my life, just know that no pun, all pun intended, every single move that I made was intentional.